Hello everyone, welcome to the quiz help video for 3.05. Alright, so in 3.05 we're talking about corresponding parts. So let's check it out. It says suppose triangle JCD is congruent to triangle MAY. Which other congruency statements are correct? Alright, so here's the deal. The first letter J corresponds to the first letter M. So those two are equal, or they're congruent. And then we have C corresponds to A. And then we have that D corresponds to Y. So as long as the letters that are supposed to go together, it's gonna work. So let's check out this first one. It starts off with D and Y. Remember, D and Y were supposed to go together, so that's good. And then it goes to C, corresponds to A, and C and A were both green, that's good. And then, of course, the last ones have to correspond, J and M. So that one does work. Let's check the next one. We start off with C. I went ahead and labeled C green, so I'm going to stick with that. And C has to correspond to A, which it does. And then we go to J, and J has to correspond to M, which it does. And then lastly, we have D, which corresponds to Y. So that is also a true statement. All right, let's look at the next one. We have J. J is yellow. Let me change that. And J, the yellow is supposed to go with the M. So I think you can see here that we already have a problem because it says that J goes with Y, but Y is blue and it's supposed to go with D. So this problem is messed up. This is not a true congruency statement. All right, and then if we check the next one, D is blue and it's supposed to correspond to Y, which it does, so that's good. And then we have J is yellow and it's supposed to correspond to M. Womp womp. All right, so that does not work. So you're just checking to make sure that the corresponding parts go together. All right, suppose triangle ITH is congruent to triangle APG. Which congruency statement is true? All right, so we're going to check each of these. IH, that's the first and the last letter. So it has to correspond to the first and the last letter, which it does. All right, now let's try a different one. TH. That's the last two letters, so it has to correspond to the last two letters. And TH does not go with AP. It should go with PG. So that one doesn't work. All right, and then if we check IT, those are the first two. It should correspond to the first two, which would say AP, and this says AG, so that doesn't work. And then lastly, TH, the last two, needs to go with the last two. So this should be PG, not AG. So the only one that works this time is the first one. All right, triangle MNP is congruent to triangle QST. What is the measure of angle S? All right, so let's go ahead and, I just like to color code. It makes me happy. So M goes with Q, so I'm going to go ahead and mark them over here. M is 66. That means Q also has to be 66. Because the triangles are congruent, their corresponding parts also have to be congruent. All right, let's color code some more. N corresponds to S. So because N is 78, S is also 78. And I've actually already got my answer right there because it says, what is the measure of angle S? So the measure of angle S equals 78 degrees. All right, so we have another set of congruent triangles, and it says, what is the length of GX? I'm going to go ahead and highlight GX over here. And I'm going to look up here. GX is the first, or the last and the first. So it has to correspond to the last and the first. So GX has to correspond to WX. And we already know WX is 5.7, so GX has to be 5.7. All right, this diagram shows the pre-image triangle ABC and its image triangle A prime, B prime, or double prime, B double prime, C double prime, after a series of transformations. Select from the drop-down menus to correctly complete the statements. Okay, so first we're comparing triangle ABC to triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So I'm trying to figure out how I went from this triangle to that triangle. And if you look, we have C and C prime, A and A prime, B and B prime. That looks like a mirror image. So I think it's going to be a reflection. So now I just have to decide where am I folding the paper so that it'll lie on top of itself or it'll map back onto itself. And it looks like if I fold along that dotted line, imagine taking your graph and actually folding it, it should map onto itself. So this one should be a reflection across the line y equals x. Alright, then we're trying to figure out how we go from this one, A prime, B prime, C prime, to this one. And again, it looks like it's a mirror image, and this time it looks like I could fold the paper right here to get it to map on itself. So that's another reflection, and that one's across the x-axis. And because both of these transformations are rigid transformations, not sure exactly what that'll say, but it'll say something about the word rigid. The image and the pre-image are congruent. Because we didn't change the shape or size, that's what rigid means. It means it keeps the same shape and size. Those images are going to be congruent. All right, good luck on your quiz.